All. Great to hear from everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Excited to get started. My name is Jake Gordon. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Notify. We really appreciate you tuning in, spending your time. As I've mentioned, we have an awesome cast for you today. We're going to be talking about the future of destination golf. We're going to be talking about we've brought in some of the best operators and minds in destination golf in the world, and who all bring a different set of expertise to the table, whether that's Scooter as an operator, Mike bringing the technology expertise, and Jordan bringing in a lot of that revenue mindset. And I'm sure each of you wear different hats on a day-to-day basis. And of course, Glenn, you're going to be bringing a lot of the subject matter expertise market-wide and what you all are seeing at Buffalo Group. I'll give you guys a little bit of high-level agenda, but before I do, just some very quick housekeeping items. We will send all of the recordings after, and we will encourage you all to use the chat function. We'll be keeping our eye on it the entire time. I don't know, Michaela, if you want to do a quick introduction from your side, then we can really dive in and get into the content here.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining. Head of marketing for Notify. I'll manage the chat and the Q&A box as well. So feel free to drop in any questions. We'll drop them out throughout the session. If not, we'll answer them at the end. Thanks so much.
Perfect. All right, so just high-level agenda for the day. What type of content? What are we going to be covering? First, we'll do a little round the horn, who's who in the zoo. We have an awesome group with you here today. So everybody will introduce themselves, who they are, what they do, and maybe a little bit more about the properties that you all work at or the organizations you're with. Glenn here is going to lead it off, talking about some new research that Buffalo Group recently did on the future of destination travel, golfer consumer sentiment. Obviously, there's a lot of news out there about headwinds, macroeconomic trends. And really what we want to unpack today is, are you all seeing that? Are you feeling that? And what are you doing to prepare for this season and next season as we look ahead? Once Glenn gets through the data, we're going to open it up to an operator corner. The three main topics we're going to talk about today. First of all, demand. What are you seeing in your numbers? How are things looking relative year over year? And what's the overall temperature check at your various properties regarding new business and the different initiatives you're pushing on revenue? Next, we're going to talk about technology. And this is a little bit of the what's in the bag, right? If you talk to 100 operators, you'll probably get 100 different tech stacks of what type of tools and capabilities are being used to solve business problems, drive revenue, improve efficiency or experience. Then the last one, which I'm personally a little bit most excited about, is all about guest experience, right? Destination golf travel. We all know that the elevated experience that golfers are expecting if they're writing a big personal check to travel around the world to your property means a lot. And I know that each of your properties and facilities have some unique capabilities that you all use to give that surprise and delight factor. So why don't I dive in? Why don't we do some quick introductions to get started here? As I mentioned, my name is Jake Gordon, one of the co-founders of Notify. We're technology that helps golf operators and customers drive the best possible experience. We're working with about 100 of the top 200 resorts today. Many of the folks on the call we're working with. And why don't I start it off with Jordan? Jordan, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit more about Sand Valley and what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Jordan Powell, going on my 8th year here at Sand Valley, currently Director of Business Operations. So I oversee our entire business operations, whether it's reservations and sales, revenue management, and then our technology systems. And then Sand Valley, 5 total golf courses, over 300 guest rooms, opening our 6th golf course in 2026. And certainly have a lot going on. We opened in 2017. It's been constant development since. And with that development, of course, comes constant change. So have partnered with Notify, of course, to do a lot of very exciting things, and super excited to be on this panel today.
Awesome, Jordan. Thanks for tuning in. And I know you're a player yourself. So PGA professional. What's the course record that you have on the property?
Oh, lowest would be, I would say, 63 on Sedge for me. So that's 5 under.
All right. Well, I know who I'm bringing onto my scramble team here.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Mike Rogers, you want to take it next?
Sure, thanks, Jake. Jordan, you just humbled us with those stories. So I can't profess to be anywhere close to your capabilities, but it's great to be on the call with you. Mike Roger, I'm the Senior VP of Technology for Cabot. For those that don't know Cabot, we are an owner, developer, and operator of luxury golf destinations. We have operations in Canada, which is where we were founded. We have operations in Florida, in St. Lucia, and Bordeaux, France, and in Scotland, and continue our growth story across the continent of North America and into Europe. So we're definitely a company that's very much in growth mode. The technology role at Cabot, really, I oversee all global technology, everything from the mundane, brilliant basics of finance, accounting, cybersecurity, infrastructure, networking, you name it, all the way to our guest-facing technologies, which we're pretty excited to talk about today.
Awesome, Mike. And I know Cabot, the ambition and the reach just continues to grow. Is it unique, and we'll get into it, that an organization like yours has a EVP or SVP of technology function? Because I'm not sure I've seen other MCOs, owner operators, have a CTO in a role like yours.
I think you're right. I think it's a little bit different. Some of the bigger organizations in our game, Troon and Kemper Sports, et cetera, would have this type of role. I think it's a little unusual when you're in the size of Cabot, but it speaks to the importance that we place on technology and the importance of how technology can fuel our business. So I think there's an investment there that we see there's some real upside and what we bring to the table with technology and how we can make our properties perform at their best and our people perform at their best as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Looking forward to digging in today. Scooter, why don't we pass to you? Tell us a little bit about your role and the operation over at Tobacco Road.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Excited to be on this webinar, and obviously, I'm looking to learn something as well. But I'm the general manager here at Tobacco Road Golf Club in Sanford, North Carolina. So we're kind of located in between Pinehurst and Raleigh there. For people that haven't been there, don't know much about us. I mean, we're kind of growing here over the last 4 or 5 years. We're not quite as big as Cabot or Sand Valley, in that we only have one golf course and we have one cabin on property, so only one lodge option. But we also do have a Tobacco Road travel department that books packages with other local golf courses, and obviously being close to Pinehurst, we get a lot of people that are on package play, things of that nature. So like I said, we're growing, and we're looking to see what we can do in terms of whether another course, lodging, whatever it might be, is the best next option for us. So excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Scooter. And I know Tobacco Road, obviously top 100 property, been, I think, on every single golfer's dream list. What's your favorite hole on the property and kind of why?
I mean, I kind of like one just starting out. Obviously, the view is kind of iconic with the two mounds right there separating the fairway. So that's one of the ones. And number 11 is a par 5 that kind of goes to the right with a big 30, 40-foot bunker or waste area, excuse me, next to the green. So that's probably the one you see a lot on social media. So both good holes here at Tobacco Road.
Yeah, I think I've seen my fair share of approach shots that go 10 feet past the pin and then zip back about 100 yards. So I might just be picking up and put a smiling face on the card after that one. But shameless plug for the whole group. If you haven't been to Tobacco Road, definitely should be on your list. All right, Glenn, why don't we round it out? Tell us a little bit more about your role at Buffalo Group and maybe just more about Buffalo Group today for those who don't know.
Sure. Yes. Glenn Gray, Executive Vice President of Buffalo Group. We're based in Charleston, South Carolina. I've been with the company now for close to 15 years. For many years, we were a division of Billy Casper Golf, owner operator of about 160 golf courses, up until they were acquired. That business was acquired in obviously in 2021 by Troon, but prior to that, Buffalo Group spun out, and we've been on an exciting growth path really since 2019. So we've got a really exciting investment group, and became part of the Clubworks family middle of last year. And so today, Buffalo Group, we're the largest golf-specific marketing agency in the world. We're about 90 people, and we have an in-house research team of about 15 people. So the report that I'll take this group through is their amazing work and kind kind of how they keep their finger on the pulse of what's happening in the industry. We also have traditional marketing agency services of creative, digital, PR, events, and we own a media property in golf called The First Call. So yeah, we work with some of the largest, most exciting golf resorts, destinations in the world. We also work with private clubs, luxury real estate communities, but we also work with a lot of the B2B and B2C brands in and around golf. So everything from hard goods, soft goods, technology, and we do a lot of work with industry associations. We serve as agency of record for the USGA, the NGCOA, the GCSAA, and the entire alphabet soup of the golf industry. So yeah, so just a little bit about Buffalo and my role in particular. I oversee business development, and I work very closely with some of our key accounts across the industry. And yeah, excited to be a part of this group today and chat a little bit more.
Awesome, Glenn. Well, appreciate that. I feel like you probably see it all in the golf business, end to end across the value chain. And I think that's one of the reasons we're really excited to have you kind of present what you're seeing and hearing out there. On this call, I already look in the chat and we've got course operators who run 9-hole facilities in rural Texas, and we've got GMs in Dubai and everything in between. So as I'm sure you're part of informing this research is coming from what you're seeing from consumer goods to customer sentiment and everything in between. So my ask of you is, really extracting the insights that are relevant, not just in destination golf, but maybe for all of the operators out there. So without further ado, why don't we dive on in? I'll pass it to you, Glenn, to tee it off, and I'll try and drive here as you go through it.
Please do. Thank you. So just some context on this annual travel report that we produce through our research department. It was released just a couple months ago based on 2024 survey data. And again, it's something that we do each year. And so we have a pretty significantly large panel of golfers that we've reached out to with a variety of topics specific to golf travel. And so for the next couple slides, you'll see some of the different things that we asked of them and kind of what their responses were. And so we hit on a lot of different areas, but in particular, pulled a couple excerpts. There's a much deeper report, and if you'd like to, or if you're interested in that, happy to discuss that after the call. But hit on a couple high notes, and of course, Jake, jump in, or any of the panelists, feel free to jump in if you got some additional comments to share. But obviously, this report was released just prior to all the changes that have been happening in our economy on a global scale. But generally speaking, the sentiment is still very high in terms of golf travel and the expected spend that they would have in 2025. So we do feel very confident about that. I think what we've also seen, and just as recent as earlier today, I saw rounds played reports are starting to improve. Obviously, weather's getting better across the country. So just generally speaking, golf is it's still in a very healthy place, and certainly golf travel is still very strong. So with 44% planning to spend more on travel this year, obviously that's a really strong statistic and something to build on.
Awesome. And Glenn, just to add a little color as well, we're working with about 750 clubs, and we're not seeing any signs in the data of slowdown or softness. I know there's a lot of fear and kind of concern among the operator parties that we're seeing, and I'm curious to hear from our panelists today if you're seeing the same. But there's nothing in our data yet that's saying that even the tariffs or the headwinds are impacting consumer sentiment yet. So looking forward to hearing from the crew if that's what you're all saying as well.
We really started to dive into this particular study around like what is driving the motivation of golf travel. And one thing was very clear, it's the courses. And so particularly, it doesn't matter if it's a brand new course, a recently renovated course, a classic course. That in particular is kind of that bucket list mentality. I've never been to this destination. I really want to go. And I'm going to find a way to have my group or my family or whoever is playing golf traveling with you to be a part of that. So you can see kind of the comparison 2023 over 2024 as well in a lot of these slides, which is also pretty interesting. You can kind of see what that year-over-year trend looks like. But generally speaking, there's an interest in just trying new things, trying new travel experiences. trying new golf courses. There still is a high level of loyalty. I would imagine our panelists and those that are also participating on this call today, you have a lot of repeat visitors, but there is an interest in trying to expand that portfolio of golf courses that you've played or experienced.
Yeah, let me maybe pass the puck here to Jordan to start off. Jordan, are you seeing when you all are doing your marketing campaigns, what exactly is driving demand to the properties? Are you seeing the same thing that you guys open up Sedge and it creates this flurry of interest, or is it something else that's kind of driving some of that activity?
Yeah, you're spot on, Jake. I think, over the last 7 years, 8 years that we've been open, almost dang near every single year we open a new golf course, which has been fantastic for us, right? It keeps people interested, keeps them engaged, and gets them wanting to come back to experience that new golf course. So I think this data is spot on, right? Playing courses that they haven't played before, it fits the bill for us perfectly. As soon as we open a new golf course, people are giving us a call because they want to come play it.
Yeah, and that's great when you've got probably a massive property over in Nakusa, Wisconsin. If you haven't been, definitely have to. But maybe Scooter, I'll pass it to you with one course on the property and obviously probably constrained real estate, that there's only so many courses you can put up. What would you say is driving interest and awareness to Tobacco Road?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is we probably fall into the categories more of getaway with friends and returning to a destination or golf course that they love to visit. We have people, we don't have any members or anything, but we have people that return year after year, that book with our same our travel department. The same guys come back year after year. So yeah, we don't have any new golf courses or anything. Maybe we'll build a short course in the future. Who knows? But we'd fall more in the destination course. Trying to get people to come back to a golf course they love to play.
Yeah, and I wonder if, your neighbors at Pinehurst, when they open number 10 or they open a new property, there's a surge of activity and they're in the neighborhood and they have to hit, Tobacco Road on the way out.
Yeah, we hope that's the case. Kind of like when the US Open was here last year when we got, we were busy just like we normally are, but we got some traffic from people that haven't been here yet that came to the US Open. So
Awesome. All right, Glenn, we'll keep rolling here. I know I get excited, so hopefully it won't take forever going through these, but let's keep rolling.
Well, we could have put a picture of any of the three courses from, certainly any of the courses from Sand Valley, but any of the Cabot courses, and certainly Tobacco Road, but I think it's all relevant to this particular slide, which is the scenic and the unique landscapes continue to be the most sought out experiences. And we've seen that shift, really over the last 20, 25 years since the introduction of Bandon and Cabot and some of these amazing properties that have continued to just change the entire landscape. So the willingness to travel and maybe sometimes to travel to pretty rural areas, that isn't pushing away golfers, that isn't pushing away, the interest in wanting to visit these types of locations. And we've seen a lot of new ones that have popped up as well. Buffalo's been involved with some of those openings, some of those renovations. And so it's exciting to see just that continued exploration of all golfer segments in terms of the various experiences that they're seeking out.
Yeah, and this is probably a perfect one to pass to Mike because I'm sure the spirit of adventure is probably very representative of what you all try to achieve at Cabot. So, Mike, tell us more. What goes into the Bordeaux's of the world, the Highlands of the world, and are you seeing similar things and why folks are deciding to travel across the world to visit your properties?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, at the root, it all starts with a special piece of land. I think that's what we at Cabot all sort of fundamentally believe. It's very much find an amazing parcel of land. There aren't that many of those the world over, and develop that opportunity into something that can be iconic and a destination unto itself. As many of our sort of panelists will talk about, we have some golf courses in some pretty remote places, and people will make the trek because it is part of the experience, right? It's getting to Cape Breton in Nova Scotia, Canada is, planes, trains, and automobiles, but it's part of the experience. It's what people they love it when they have an opportunity to sort of embrace that kind of journey. I think what, just trends in the market, we've, as Cabot obviously is a brand that started with one destination, and now we've grown our our opportunity is similar to the panelists, but different as well. We've definitely got a cohort of people that love to come back to Cabot time and again. And part of our job is to introduce those individuals to the other Cabot properties we've got, and to drive that sort of cross-pollination. Somebody who's been to citrus farms in Florida, that we can take with us to Scotland, we can take them to Bordeaux, we can build a destination around an itinerary around the destination and have them sort of travel with Cabot. And so that's where we spend a little bit of our time these days, is building a strategy to take our loyalists and expose them to more things.
Yeah, that's great. Question for you, Glenn. Do you think for the daily fee course operators on the call who maybe don't have a destination that folks have to travel to, do you think there's something around this theme of adventure that regular courses can start to integrate into their operations?
No question. Yeah, I mean, and doesn't matter kind of where you are. I mean, we've seen this renaissance in municipal golf, right? It's a matter about the experience in itself. And so whatever that adventure is that you're creating, whether it's an urban or a rural or a seaside or a mountain landscape, it's really about that experience once those golfers arrive on property. So yeah, leaning into that and just really listening to your customers and understanding not all golfers want the same things. And so you may have a variety of different segments that resonate with your property, but really understanding what it is that gets them excited and gets them to engage is very important.
Awesome. All right, let's keep rolling.
So when we think about international, no real surprise here. Scotland and Ireland continue to dominate the international landscape when golfers are thinking about where they want to take an international trip. I think just, from a U.S. golfer perspective, the Caribbean for most golfers, especially those on the East Coast, is much easier to get to than taking a trip over the pond. But what we have seen is certainly an uptick in interest in other areas of Europe. And whether that is kind of the attention around what happened with the Ryder Cup in Italy, or really just kind of general growth in tourism destinations like Portugal. But then also as far as, some of the places like in Australia, New Zealand, we've seen a lot of new golf courses that have popped up there. So I think it's something that's going to be interesting to continue to monitor, and how this landscape continues to shift.
Awesome.
And then in terms of the U.S., geographically, the Southeast continues to be a major draw. You can kind of see here the various destinations that we grouped into the survey as part of one of the questions. And so Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, even all the way up to Virginia, that Southeast coast is something that is definitely a high-ranking priority for golfers when they're thinking about the destination on where they're going, and particularly who they're going with, whether it's their golf buddy trip or family or others. So moving on, in terms of looking at some of the previous trends, most golfers here traveled in the latter half of 2024 are primary decision makers. So really the key takeaway here is just the responsibility that goes around that individual. We've always talked about it. And who is that individual that is really organizing the group? And so that's a key part, and that's kind of the most important thing that I think a lot of people want to understand is like that group of 8, that group of 12, that group of 16, like who is actually doing it and how do I get to that individual? And so it is a challenge, and what we're seeing, if you move to the next slide, Jake. But what we have seen is just this continued focus on particularly the emphasis of the primary decision makers of those group, continuing to move those groups along to exploring international golf trips. They can be expensive. They can also be a little bit more daunting in terms of the length of travel and how much time you are away from family and from your jobs. And then in this particular slide here, one thing that is of note is just kind of the variance of budgets. You can see the pie here. And we have a golf travel operator of ours that really kind of sits more in that premium experience of 10 to 15K above. We also have clients that are one-off golf courses or have maybe 36 holes. and they're kind of a travel destination in their own, and they're maybe in that lower end, and kind of everything in between. So it really is kind of a true mix based on the survey results that we had in terms of what those travel budgets are.
So one thing I heard from you,
It was 1 in 4 are spending 10K, which again that's pretty powerful.
yeah, absolutely. And probably if you can get that, kind of upper echelon consumer to have a great time, the lifetime value is significant, right? Scooter mentioned these folks are potentially going to come back again and again. Or in the case of Cabot, they might have had a great time at Citrus Farms, and now they're ready to experience another property. Jordan, I'll pull you in here. How do you guys try and identify that booking captain? How do you try and market to, the buddies group, or, the group booking captain who's doing the coordination for 8, 16, or 32 guys or gals?
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, right, we have a ton of repeat business. So I think that would be, where we're going first when we're identifying that booking captain. We're keeping those who have been to Sand Valley and or any Dream Golf property, trying to keep them engaged, right? Whether it be through eBlast with new golf courses, new opportunities, we've got grass tennis courts, court tennis courts, etc. Right? So we're trying to keep these individuals engaged and identify that booking captain, keep their business coming back year in and year out. And I think secondly, it kind of points well at some of these metrics. While we are a luxury high-end destination resort where things can get pricey at times, we have a couple different avenues where it's still accessible for really any budget, whether that be not staying on site, grabbing an Airbnb or a hotel in the area, and being able to still experience our terrific golf courses. Or, I think a great value add at Sand Valley is our incredibly reasonably priced food and beverage. You're playing golf and you go to the turn stand and you can get a $1 taco and a $2 beer, right? So that perceived value is really what keeps the price down for the guests and allows them to keep coming back year in and year out.
Yeah, that's almost Augusta-esque, right? Where you're maybe spending a pretty penny to get there, but while you're there, you're treated with kind of that surprise and delight. And we'll get into that in a minute. Scooter, anything to add there in terms of, attracting the booking captain, attracting the groups to come in? Maybe what's the sweet spot for Tobacco Road?
Yeah, again, I think it's kind of what Jordan pointed to is keep them engaged. Obviously, when they sign up through our travel department or just booking a tee time online, their email and stuff's added to our database. We kind of can see how many people they booked with, whether that's a package of 8 or 16, 24. And like you said, just trying to engage and keep sending them information to whether it's something new that's happening at Tobacco Road that they could experience if they come back the following year. So just trying to stay in contact with them and keep them coming back.
Awesome. Well, Glenn, I know we're coming up on the slides here. Anything else you wanted to add in terms of Buffalo Group point of view?
I just want to answer James's question in the Q&A box, which I just noticed. His question is, any increased interest in Vietnam based on all the new courses that are being built? And I would say the answer is yes. I don't know how the deeper report likely specifically quantifies kind of Vietnam as a golf destination, but I can tell you just in what I'm hearing and seeing in the golf industry, just the amount of, as you mentioned, James, new golf courses that are being developed. We work with a lot of golf course architects. The amount of RFPs that they're receiving to respond to on potential new golf course developments is pretty staggering. We also own a golf society, the oldest golf society in the U.S. called the Friars Golf Club. It's about 850 members. And we've actually taken a couple trips to Vietnam with that group. And each year that we continue to do it, we see this renewed interest in wanting to go to Vietnam and to play those golf courses. So yeah, it's something we're keeping a close eye on.
Yeah, and the probably broader theme of globalization of golf is just an exciting trend that I think we all can see. And, as we get into it, especially Mike, post-COVID, the themes of adventure, the theme of discovery, globalization, are folks really willing to go halfway around the world? I think that's a great transition into really the operator's corner. So what we're going to talk about is high level, the seasonality, what you're seeing in revenue and demand, the technology stack you have and what's working, as well as finally the customer experience and how you give that kind of surprise and delight, and maybe any kind of cool, unique anecdotes that you all have about your properties. So I'll open it up. Maybe let's start with Mike. Mike, what are you seeing, obviously portfolio wide or in some of the new initiatives you're doing? I know you gave us a little preview on what's going on in Ireland, but how is overall demand year over year that you're seeing across Cabot right now?
Yeah, I think we continue to see a similar storyline to what Glenn just presented. Its demand remains pretty robust. Cabot, much like some of the others on the call here, we have long booking windows. People they don't wake up on a Tuesday and decide that they're going to go travel to Cabot on Saturday. So there's a long sort of matriculation period, I suppose, of thinking about when you want to travel, think about who's going to come with you and all those sorts of things. So the window of booking, we see continued strong demand across pretty much all of our courses. It varies by geography. Obviously, given our original course in Cape Breton, Canada, it's a seasonal course. It's only open sort of 6 months a year, and so we see different sort of trends there in terms of when the booking windows are relative to a property in Florida, which has almost an inverted kind of seasonality to it. But I would say generally 2025 looks pretty robust. We continue to think about how we can sort of maximize our share of wallet when people do come to a Cabot destination. So they're predominantly coming for golf, but how can we build ancillaries around the golf experience with dining, with activities, and with other sort of pieces of the puzzle? How do we command a greater share of wallet? I think is sort of where we're spending a little bit of our time at the moment.
Excellent. And are there any of those ancillary activities or revenue drivers that are working well, or maybe any surprises? I know Citrus Farms, you got hunting, you got some fishing, you've got some hiking. What exactly is working in terms of attracting maybe the rest of the family to come along?
Yeah, I'll answer your question sort of in two ways, Jake. I think and you hit on it, right? It's kind of like, who's the persona, who's coming to the resort. If it's a guy's trip, then a place like Citrus Farms with axe throwing and a shooting range and some fishing, and it sort of all fits very nicely with the kind of the characterization of a guy's trip or a buddy's trip. And then, conversely, how do we attract families? Well, that's in more destination programming. So, if I think about some of the things that we're doing with our St. Lucia property today, it's very much around the activities, the beach experience, the tennis court experience, whether it's tennis lessons, whether it's local exploration. We're starting to build more outside of what I'll call our sort of core competency as being centered around golf. But we feel we can be a bit of a destination guide as well. And so that allows us to tap into, multi-generational family visits. It allows us to tap into couples visits, that sort of thing. So it varies a little bit on the destination itself, but critically important that at least from our perspective, that we're known as golf first, but we have programming around that experience as well.
Yeah, and maybe one last follow-on question. Do you ever experiment at one property and then kind of share those learnings across others? I'm curious how the axe throwing would resonate in St. Lucia.
That's probably not the one that will take global, but I would tell you there's a great wine tasting program in our Cabot Bordeaux property today, and there's a lot of sort of locally that's been a great success, partnering with local vineyards and the local marketplace. And so the idea of, can we take a curated kind of either wine or other beverage curation and take that to other Cabot locations? That's something our F&B team's pretty excited about. Great proof point from Cabot Bordeaux. Can we take it and parlay that into something somewhere else? So we do, but probably not with axe throwing.
Very fair. All right, well, Jordan, I'll pass it to you. Maybe tell us, what are you seeing in in the numbers at Sand Valley? I also know that, somewhat similar to Citrus Farms, you do get your fair share of day golf only play. So how's the mix looking, and how are you feeling? I guess, what's the temperature check over in Nakusa?
For sure. Yeah. So from a demand perspective, it's fantastic. We're in a pretty amazing position where our demand exceeds our capacity, really 2 or 3-fold. So no issues there for 2025, 2026. Focus is really around how can we streamline the booking process and create, overall best guest experience. And got to throw kudos to the Notify team and Jake, right? We came to you guys with a pipe dream in December, knowing that we had our new booking window coming up, and you guys delivered on an incredible product that was a smashing success on all levels. So as far as the demand, it's fantastic. Kind of breaking down resort guests, day guests. We're in a place where our tee sheets have a larger capacity than what we have for lodging on property. So we certainly rely on, filling the resort, which is pretty easy to do with our demand. That fills about, 70 to 75% of our tee sheet capacity. And then we, do different initiatives to backfill that what we call day golf capacity within our tee sheets. So yeah, demand very, very strong to say the least. It's just kind of finding ways to maximize utilization and fill the resort both on the tee sheet and resort lodging standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's an enviable position to have excess demand to supply, but you guys do have a kind of unique position where you have to attract 60% of your tee sheet supply to get filled by day golfers who, at a minimum, would have a 2-hour drive into, God's country and, in the Midwest. So how do you attract day golfers to come and do their dream golf day, recognizing they don't get a lot of the accommodations and they probably have to go home at the end of the day?
Yeah, multiple layer approach, right? And I think it starts when we open up our booking window for the new year, right? So we have, X amount of rooms available and X amount of demand. Those people that fall in the we did not get on-site accommodations category, it's finding a way to keep them engaged, whether it's offering 2025 day golf opportunities or 2026 day golf opportunities, knowing full well that we may have, resort guest cancellations, we may have new lodging that comes online. How do we keep those individuals engaged? And while we have the captive audience, how do we get their tee times, on the books right now? So I think it starts there by informing our guests that, hey, so sorry, we did not get you on-site lodging, but here's all the other opportunities that we have available. So first, it starts by informing. Secondly, I think it's just marketing strategies, whether it's social media, whether it's, e-blast to our database, et cetera, letting them know again, hey, we've got tee times available for you. We know, we may send an e-blast to a regional database within a 500-mile radius saying, here's what we've got, right now. Go on our online booking portal, take a look. If you don't see anything you like, sign up for our wait list, and you're going to be, you're going to get a text as soon as something becomes available. So a couple different strategies there, but ultimately, I think it boils down to keeping everyone engaged and letting them know that we have stuff available.
Yeah, that's great. And I know from firsthand experience, you're like a mad scientist in the lab, pulling every lever to keep that tee sheet full. So very cool to see kind of under the hood there. Scooter, maybe round it out. What are you guys seeing at Tobacco Road? Obviously, different type of operation where you're very lodging constrained, but have high golf demand. So what's the temperature check for you all?
Yeah, demand seems still very high. We kind of opened our tee sheet this past year, so November 1st of last year for all of 2025, and then we kind of measured on certain booking metrics of when we kind of hit a certain revenue target of bookings. We noticed anywhere from that we were 5 to 7 weeks ahead in 2025 of hitting some of those metrics than we were in 2024. So certainly demand is still there. Yeah, we're a little different. We only have one cabin on property, but we are more just all about golf. So there's really no other amenities. So we try to lean into that and, very rustic, laid back atmosphere, but how can we, continue taking that to the next level to, keep the demand high?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I know sounds like the overall sentiment 40 minutes into this presentation is everything is warm, fuzzy up and to the right. Maybe I'll open it up to the panel. Anything concerning you? Any blind spots? Any fears in terms of headwinds that may impact demand? I mean, I'll open it up to anyone who's a brave soul and wants to take this one.
I'll chime in. I mean, I think there's always a macroeconomic outlook in terms of what's going on in the global economy, and I think there's I wouldn't say we're seeing any sort of trends necessarily, but we're very vigilant. Let's put it that way. I mean, I think we're always sort of in the operator sort of mindset. What do we need to do to maximize revenue, control expenses? Let's just continue to keep our eyes on every part of the balance sheet. And so there's probably a heightened sensitivity to what's going on in the world right now. And so that prompts more P&L reviews perhaps than you would normally have or typically have. You're certainly looking at the forecast more often. You're sort of revising forecasts and making sure you got the right eyeballs on it. So I think we're doing all the preparatory, the preparation that's required to make sure we can adjust and pivot if we have to. But at the moment, I think we're like the other guys on the panel. We're sort of seeing the same kind of trends that you're seeing.
That's great. Appreciate that, and thanks for taking the the hot potato over there.
Debate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Mike, maybe I'll stick with you here while you got the mic. Probably very few people in the golf industry who think more about their technology stack than you. What's in the bag for Cabot? How do you all think? I'm sure it depends property to property, but how do you think about technology enabling your business strategy? And maybe what's worked as you look at the tech stack today, and where are you guys looking in the future?
Yeah, I love that, Jake. I love that sort of what's in the bag. I'm gonna use that again. That's a great way of framing it. So yeah, I think if we think just holistically about technologies for a minute, I mean, I've been here for a couple of years, and our anchor point when we evaluate sort of technology and the technology strategy at Cabot is, what does our customer want? I mean, that's really where things start. It's how can we deliver on what the customer is looking for? And so we really look at it from the perspective of the customer journey, right? It's everything from the sort of dream phase through we all think about these things: the dream phase, the planning phase, the booking phase, pre-arrival, arrival, on-prem, departure, post-departure. I mean, there's a whole journey in that customer life cycle. And so when I sort of joined the business, it was really much a focus of, well, how does our technology line up to each one of those phases of the customer journey? And we had some great tech in some areas, and we had some non-existent tech in other parts of that journey. And so what we started to sort of peel back the onion, I suppose, is think about, well, what technology fits in what part of the customer journey? And so that was sort of 40,000 foot view. How do we think about tech? Then the next step from there is how do you get your brilliant basics right? So it's very difficult to layer in a great CRM or email marketing platform or whatever if you don't have your basics right, if you don't have sort of good data hygiene policies and practices, if you don't have a strong network connection, if you don't have all of the sort of brilliant basics that have to be in place before you can layer in these sort of higher value systems and touch points. So we kind of fixed the brilliant basics over the course of a period of time, and now we've gotten to an exciting point where we can start to deliver more interesting things. So what's in the bag for us now? Well, we've created a lot of consistency around property management, golf tee time system, point of sale system, CRM, financial systems on the back end. We've created a lot of consistency. So Cabot's to a golfer, to our customer, they all look very different, very unique, and they're a great playing experience, a great stay experience. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of consistency that powers the operation. And so what that allows our team members to do, those are the guys on the front line, the guys and girls on the front line delivering the experience. It's pretty similar. If you go to Cabot Citrus Farms, you go to Cabot St. Lucia, and then you go to Cabot Cape Breton. Well, you could pick an employee or a team member from one of those locations and drop them in the next location, and they'd know how to operate the asset, which is a great place to be. We've created sort of this internal strength of how do we operate and how do we run on standard platforms with standard SOPs and all that kind of good stuff. The opportunity from that is then to extend, right? How do you build on the core, right? So we've got the brilliant basics in place. We have a pretty good handle on what our customers looking for. So then how do you build and invest in the capabilities that sort of push you over the top? And so the things that we're looking at now are we're very much around, single itinerary. How do we build a better booking experience online so somebody can add lodging and golf and activities and dining and transportation into a single itinerary and check out online with that itinerary. It's not as simple as, just booking a hotel room or just booking a tea time. We're trying to curate an experience. And we've traditionally been in sort of the world of taking inbound calls, and our reservations agents kind of answer the phone and try to service that experience. Now we're trying to sort of pivot that a little bit into more of a digital experience, and sort of reposition what was traditionally a reservations agent and make them more of a trip planner. So they're more of your sort of personal travel planner, helping you create a wonderful experience for you and your group. And so it's, words are important. So we feel like it's important that we sort of flip it a little bit and give more capability to our customer to self-service, and give more capability to our team such that they can proactively kind of reach out more with the technology backbone and provide an itinerary to somebody who wants to come to Cabot. Take the guesswork away, or the hard work away from the customer who's trying to piece it together themselves for his or her traveling party, and present something that looks like a great itinerary that can be tweaked from that point. So that's where we're spending a little bit more of our time. You guys are involved, and Jake, in some of that, and then there's other parts of it that involve kind of our existing CRM stack, some of our existing membership databases, and some of our great data points that come from guest satisfaction surveys and other things. As we stitch together kind of our data storyline, we've got a lot of data today that's come from all of our properties, and we're getting a much better sort of fidelity out of that data now by investing in capabilities that allow us to sort of surface up what our customer is looking for. So, without listing off a long name of, what 3-wood are we playing, what putter are we playing, what set of wedges are we playing?
There we go.
I won't bore people with the names, but it's all sort of geared in what I just talked about.
Well, sticking with the bat analogy, I'd say you guys are probably in the PGA Tour of technology over there. So very cool stuff. Maybe Jordan, anything to add on what's in the bag, Sand Valley, different type of operations, or maybe anything from the Dream Golf perspective in general?
Yeah, I think Mike absolutely nailed it, right? Getting that consistency first, and then looking forward. I think from a Dream Golf perspective, we're in a point right now where we're trying new things out, and we're seeing what works best, right? That may get deployed at the rest of the Dream Golf properties. But I think Mike nailed it, right? It's the single itinerary, and as far as going in the future, right? We're in a world right now where we all get instant feedback. So we need to start shaping our guest experience that way too. So instead of maybe calling into a call center and sitting on hold for a few minutes and reviewing availability, right? Finding ways for guests to figure out that availability on their own, whether it be an online booking portal or something of that nature. So I think that's where we're heading, and should be a fun time to get there.
Awesome. All right, conscious of time, 10 minutes, home stretch. Scooter, I'm going to pass it to you. I'm sure there are lots of Easter eggs, buried treasure, interesting experiences if someone steps foot on Tobacco Road's property. How do you all think about the guest experience, recognizing that, many of the folks who are playing might be their first time, there, and maybe who knows when the next time they're back. So when you think about guest experience, how do you all think about your strategy, and maybe give us some insights into any Easter eggs that you have on the property?
Yeah, so again, I think it's all kind of centered around, customer service, just from an operating standpoint. How can we obviously make the guest experience better from the time they arrive on property, whether that's at the bag drop, certain touch points of when, the customer and the staff can interact, whether it's in the golf shop. We feel like our starters, just being Tobacco Road, especially the first time people play it, they're usually intimidated. So the starters kind of give them some more information. So that's a big point that, they're giving them the correct information. Then just small touches. I mean, we've obviously got, new golf carts, which is something, everybody does, but we put towels in the carts, some custom aluminum water, stuff like that we're trying to change that they haven't done here before. So, as demand and stuff keeps going and the rates continue to climb, that expectation obviously goes up. And so we're just trying to, which is certainly fair, and we're just trying to make sure that we provide value. But we're, obviously, like I said, we're on a different scale than, Sand Valley and Cabot at the moment, but we're looking to see maybe if, on course comfort stations with, food and beverage, stuff like that would help, increase the customer experience.
That's great. Glenn, anything to add that you're seeing kind of across the value chain, maybe even on the goods and services side? Any up and coming themes that resorts you're working with are doing or experimenting with? Obviously was recently at Omni PGA Frisco. They've got, the margarita slushy stand right in the middle of the course, just little things like that that kind of bring the personality. What are you all seeing from the Buffalo Group side across your portfolio?
For sure, yeah, it's those memorable experiences. It's that meal or that drink or that cigar or whatever it is that they kind of walk away from and say, okay, I can clearly remember that. In addition to all the great golf, or maybe it wasn't so great golf that they played, they walked away with like, I remember that food I had at the turn, or that drink that was, so cleverly named and tasted so good, because I was in this mindset that just had me to a place where I was so happy, I was so relaxed, I was so much enjoying the experience. So, how can you leverage something like that? And we tend to see a lot of our clients, their customers will actually post that out on social media. They're going to post, glamour shots of the golf course, but then they're going to post some of those other pieces as part of the experience as well, the F&B element of it, the merch side of it too, just the creativity of the merch that we're seeing in pro shops and the various brands. We do a lot of work with Swag Golf, and they've got some really unique products that they've created, and how they've gone from a drop culture to now being available in these pro shops. So, yeah, we're seeing some really cool things, some really fun activations as well on the brand partnership side. So, aligning with brands that are headquartered in your area, or brands that just make sense. Don't be shy about reaching out to these brands and sharing a creative idea with them, with your property. You'd be surprised the responsiveness that you would receive. So that type of activation of brands that really align and have kind of the same thinking is something that we've seen really work incredibly well.
Love it. Love it. Mike, something to add there?
Yeah, I was just going to chime in. I think it's great to have those sort of signature flourishes, right? It's Cabot, and just picking up on what Glenn said, we've got these amazing Cabot cookies that you get on the first tee, and it's unique to the course you're playing, right? So if you're in Florida, you're going to get a different cookie than you get in Cape Breton and St. Lucia, and they're all made by local bakeries, right? So it's sort of embracing the spirit of the location that we're in, and so you get a cookie that's of the place on the first tee. Then you get to the first green, you sink your putt, and then you get the gong. We have gong cups across all Cabot locations, and so it's a little bit of surprise and delight for people who've never been to a Cabot before. It's like, what's that noise? As your ball hits the bottom of the cup. And so those sorts of things leave lasting memories. The Instagram moments at Cabot. We have the Cabot couches, which are a big sort of hit on Instagram for us and across social media. And when you get to the end of your round and you want to sit back on your favorite beverage, there's a couch at the, overlooking the 18th green or outdoors where you can sort of you can sit and welcome the rest of your group that's in the 4-ball behind you. Those are sort of signature things that leave a lasting impression, right? People think about Cabot and they think about the cookie on the first tee. They think about the couch on the 18th green. And that sort of puts you in people's consciousness a little bit, right? Their likelihood to recommend goes up if they have those little flourishes they can talk about.
Yeah, Mike, the gong cup made me feel a lot better about my 4-putt on number 1 with those updated greens.
Yeah.
So
yeah, unfortunately,
about it
it's
real
up on the
quick.
scorecard. Yeah.
Jordan, anything to finish? I know you guys have some Easter eggs kind of all across the guest journey. Anything to add there on unique, little things? You mentioned the F&B, but little things that make folks really say, man, I want to go back to Sand Valley next year for my buddy's trip.
Yeah, for sure. I think it first starts, any high-end resort, you're going to be met with friendly people. But for those who have not been to Wisconsin, right, we are a group of overly friendly individuals. So at every single corner, every single touch point, that you walk around Sand Valley, you're gonna immediately be greeted with a smiling face and a hi, how are you? Can I help you in any way? So I think that's first and foremost. Obviously touched on the food and beverage experience a little bit, earlier. $1 tacos, $2 beers. It's a great spot to hang out after you're around. Enjoy some time with your friends. Watch everyone come in, and then it's just other little touch points. Whether in a 4-bedroom residence, we're gonna stock your fridge with frozen pizzas for those late night snacks and those ice cream sandwiches and things of that nature. So tons of different unique touch points that you get throughout Sand Valley that really make that experience special and gets people talking about it with their buddies and coming back year in and year out.
Yeah, I think when I had a conversation with Chris Kaiser, and he mentioned when they were looking at the shower heads in the residences, and I don't know if you want to tell the story about the famous shower heads in the lodging, right?
Yeah, that just ultimately the water pressure will get every bit of sand off you that is possible. So yeah, I think when we were going through the building process, they went through 75, 100 different shower heads to find the perfect one, and remove the flow restrictors from all of it so that you get the best possible shower after walking 36 holes, and you have sand most likely everywhere.
Love it. Yeah, little things like that, that obsession with, mapping out the guest journey and thinking about any little place that you can kind of create that surprise and delight, wow experience, over the top, almost little things. I love it. So we got a few questions in the chat. One is from Marshall, and he said, one thing I've noticed is the massive growth of YouTube golf and golf influencers since COVID. How are operators using social media to increase this awareness and this avenue for your operation? We'll open it up to the group. Maybe Scooter, I'll pass it to you first. Anything to add? YouTube golf, Instagram golf, influencers. How do you think about that as what's in the bag for your revenue strategy?
Yeah, it's certainly big, and we've obviously kind of leaned into it. We get a ton of user generated or user content that's just generated from people that come and play. So they take videos on number 11. We try to share them, but we also get some of the bigger names that are on Instagram and YouTube. And so, like I said, we kind of lean into it, and we want them to come. It's just a huge thing for us when they come. Post some videos, whatever it may be, and people then want to come and attempt the same shot that they did. So it's certainly something that we definitely lean into.
Would you say it's worth it? I'm sure, speculating here, these influencers might come to property. They may want a lot of things taken care of, get the red carpet rolled out. Would you say it's net ROI positive to bring these operators in, or does it kind of depend influencer to influencer?
I think it depends a little bit. Obviously, the more followers they have, the more reach they may have. But I think it's definitely impactful and positive for us to have them. It might depend facility to facility. If it's good for kind of what you're doing at your place, but it's certainly definitely a positive ROI for us.
Awesome. Mike, Jordan, Glenn, what do you got?
I would just add that in Buffalo Group, we work with properties to help them through this strategy. We do not represent any influencers or content creators. We have a network of about 250 that we may recommend. I mean, certainly the research that our team does, the relationships they build with these individuals really helps to understand, are they the right fit for your property, and are they going to resonate with the audiences that you're trying to attract to your property? So I would just recommend, doing as much research as you possibly can. And just exploring the various routes. Some may immediately come to you and look to for payment for their visit, but if there's other ways that you can be creative with it, so you're not having to come cash out of hand to get them to property, if they are the right fit, don't be shy about going back to them with maybe a rebuttal or some other ideas. But yeah, I mean, look, the growth, we cannot deny it. I mean, we see what the tour has done with the Crater Classics and what we've seen with the Q and Myrtle Beach, and just the list goes on and on. And this audience is significant, and it's obviously reaching a younger audience, which a lot of brands and a lot of resorts are really trying to reach as kind of the next wave of creating that loyalty at a young age. So it absolutely should be part of your mix in some way, shape, or form.
Love it. Mike, Jordan, anything to add there? All right. Well, we got another question. I'm also conscious of time. Are there any efforts to grow the percentage of family golf trips and the experiences for the whole family? Obviously, Mike, you touched on this a bit. In the event that people might want to downsize the group of buddies trips or trips in general, are you looking to promote your courses at a location for the whole family, similar to Pinehurst having the Cradle, etc.? I don't know. Jordan, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I think that's certainly in our roadmap, right? I think right now in our current infrastructure, not necessarily, while, families are more than welcome to come. We have, awesome hiking trails, fat tire biking, tennis, etc. We're lacking some infrastructure and amenities for a full family vacation, whether it be a pool, spa, etc. But I think that's certainly in the roadmap, knowing, full well at some point our demand might not exceed our capacity. We need to try to keep attracting, more and more demographics, families being one of those. Certainly in our long-term roadmap and something that, we have our eyes set on with, pool, spa, kind of communal spaces, putting greens. We have a new course next year called the Commons, which is really being promoted as a golf park and a family friendly environment where you've got people playing golf in conjunction with a family maybe walking their dog on the walking path. So certainly in our roadmap and something that we have our eyes set on.
Love it. All right, just conscious of time, why don't we round it out? Maybe quick round the horn. Any advice that you have for operators looking to grow revenue, grow, their overall operation in 2025? I know, I think anything's on the table. Scooter, I'll start you off. For destination golf operators out there, what do you recommend? I guess one takeaway as they think about 2025.
Yeah, I guess just from an operator standpoint, really looking at the technology. Just a little plug for Notify. Obviously, we've been partnering with them almost a year now, and that certainly helps with canceled tee times, of filling those tee times, increasing revenue that we may have lost. We also kind of use the partnership with Notify to create some hype and anticipation of our tee sheet opening for 2025 with people creating searches, and then as soon as we unblock those tee times, it seems like the bookings may have increased just with that effort. So I would definitely just keep looking at what kind of technology you have at your facility and where you can try to improve with that.
Thanks, Scooter. Cash under the table. Thanks for the plug. Glenn, anything to add there? Your perspective, kind of holistically for folks who are looking to drive revenue this year.
I would just say that, we view this space in the perspective of what we call escape marketing, which is your customers are not necessarily escaping from something, they're escaping to your property to re-energize themselves, and really tapping into that psyche and kind of what gets them excited. The even previous question around family golfers, I mean, sometimes we don't always think about, how important that audience can be, and embracing organizations that are successful in bringing together family golf and bringing together youth golf. And we partner with Youth on Course, and they always bring, as part of that platform, 250,000 members across the U.S. If you're not a Youth on Course member, then I would just recommend, looking into something like that, because they're going to bring paying customers with them, and they're going to help to fill maybe some times, depending on your facility, that otherwise would go unused. So anyways, just something that kind of comes top of mind.
Love it. Thanks, Glenn. Jordan, what do you got? Anything, kind of one bit of advice for operators out there looking to improve 2025, 2026 bookings?
Yeah, I think Scooter and Glenn nailed it first and foremost, right? Look at your tech stack, make sure you're leveraging your technology partners to the best of your ability to drive that revenue. And then, next, analyze your core database, find ways to keep them engaged, find ways to keep them engaged, keep them coming back, and ultimately drive revenue.
Awesome. All right, Mike, bring us to the house here. 6-footer to drop it into the Gong Cup.
Knees are knocking. I mean, agree with what everybody said. I think I would just sort of think about the sort of ancillary spend, right? So when the golfer is on property, what can you do with creative packaging or the next best offer while they're on property? Have you booked their dinner reservation? Have you arranged for, a bucket of beers to be delivered to the room? All of those sorts of things that can increase your share of wallet, I would say is sort of often overlooked, right? Can you package some retail merchandise into something, in some sort of offer that you could offer to the group? I mean, those are things that sort of low-hanging fruit. They're already sort of capabilities you have on site. That would be, I think, a low-hanging opportunity for many courses.
All right, love it. Well, just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you to our Rockstar panelists for taking an hour out of your time. I'm sure, the phones are already ringing with new business, but plug for you all if you're looking to book a trip, if you're looking to, connect with another operator, Tobacco Road, Cabot, Sand Valley should be on your short list. We will share these materials, we'll share the recording, and we'll share the contact information of the group here. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thanks again, everybody, for your time. And spring golf is here, and things are looking good. So many birdies to you this season.